Hello guys and welcome. It is Thursday. I have no idea which day it is in April. I can actually take a look at that. I should have probably figured it out. Yes, that's right. It's the 18th of April 2013. I had different things in mind for today, but unfortunately that didn't go through. So I just reached out to the community, said, hey guys, send me a couple of your replays, and I decided to take a look at a couple of those. You guys sent me some interesting replays. I basically asked for any replays between Gold and Master League because I think it's cool as well, and I think it's always fun to help people. But we won't start with that. I also asked Greetorp to send me 2 replays of his Zerg against Protoss. Greetorp has been playing so much Zerg lately, and he's also been playing on a really high level, and has played a couple of really good Protoss players, and I want to look a little bit at his play and then also learn from it from a Protoss point of view, because this is a style that's pretty common right now. We had Kane on the show with Mr. Bitter a week ago or something, and he looked at it and he explained, Mr. Bitter as well, that this is a style that he likes to play. We have Stefano around here somewhere, and Stefano has also said has been messing around a little bit with this style, so I think it's really cool to take a look at it, see why it's so strong, but of course also see what we Protoss players can do against this. And then I'm of course talking about the Hydralisk opening into a Mutalisk switch. Greetorp sent me 2 examples, so I'm just going to take a look at it. We can jump into the first game, and after this I'm going to take a look at 3 replays that the community sent me in. I think I have 1 Diamond League replay, 1 guy who's from Venezuela as a Master League player, and also 2 guys from Platinum League went to each other in a crazy game on Belshire Vestige. So that is going to be fun. But for now, I want to highlight a Greetorp's play. I'm obviously going to fast forward in the start, because we all know that you start out with making a lot of drones and then the game really starts. Krolu is a Polish Protoss player who was apparently just like done with his placements and just in Diamond League, but already matched up against Greetorp, who's currently in Grandmaster League. But Krolu is, let's say a sub-tier European pro player. He's also been playing a lot in the WCS qualifiers, and he is pretty damn good. So Greetorp definitely not playing against the same guys that we later on see in this show. And well, let's say 5 minutes in the game, everything is still pretty standard right now. Greetorp of course going for 3 hatcheries after he saw that he had to deal with a Forge Fast Expand style. He's going to open up with Hydralisk. Of course, he's going to take his gases. I'm not really going to focus too much on the timings. I more just want to talk about the actual strategy rather than on how to execute it. Krolu went for a little bit of 2 Zealot pressure, and as you can see, a Stalker and a Mothership Core on the way as well. This is kind of an annoying style, and the main purpose of this is, of course, not to kill Zerg or anything. You just want to force out a couple of links. Hopefully, Zerg slips a little bit on the injects, but hey, this is Greetorp. Greetorp does not slack on the injects, no matter on how much pressure he is. But still, this is a nice opening. This is something that a lot of Protoss players do, and it's just basically to slow things down a little bit. Talking about slowing things down, we even see Time Warp going down. Krolu microing really well so far, killed a bunch of links, but of course that's not the end of the world for Greetorp, who did make 1 minor mistake here. Sorry Andre, I'm gonna have to highlight it. As you can see, he did get supply blocked in the heck of all this, and that is basically what you try to achieve when you open up like this as Protoss. Meanwhile, during all this, we see the Krolu warped in 2 more gates, and soon he's gonna warp in 2 more Stargates, and that's actually a little bit interesting. Here I think he overextended a little bit. This is one of those things you want to be so careful with as Protoss, and I have to admit this happens to me every second game. You're like, oh man, I'm doing so well, I killed so many links already. You know what, I'm gonna stick around a little bit longer, but then actually more queens join in the party, and if you end up losing your Mothership Core, you're basically like shooting yourself in the foot, because everything that you just did is kind of neglected, because you're going to have to remake that Mothership Core. As we can see, it is pretty expensive. Losing the Zealots, not a big deal. Losing the Mothership Core is a pretty big deal. And I do want to highlight as well that as easy as this looks, just like messing around with a couple of gateway units, forcing Zerg to make some units, hoping that Zerg messes up a couple of things, it is really hard to still do everything at home properly as a Protoss player. And I think that those Stargates could have been a little bit quicker from Krolu, but in the end they weren't. We see Greetorp going here for Scout Overlord, but he did not see those 2 Stargates. But despite all this, he's still making Hydralisk. Now this is a very, in my opinion, pretty okay thing to do, because Hydralisk are pretty damn good against everything that he could potentially face. This is 10 minutes in the game. Krolu is showing signs of want to go to 3 base, but of course this could still be a fake as well. Even if it's not a fake, you could make a strong Hydralisk poke, which is damn effective. And if it's gateway pressure, if it's Immortal Sentry, which is unlikely after the opening we saw, but still possible, or even if it's Stargate push, your Hydralisk are going to be good regardless. It doesn't really matter what Protoss does in this phase, unless it would be a super quick Colossus push, but even then it's not the end of the world. Taking a look if Greetorp has a Roach War. No, he didn't have a Roach War, so that would be a little bit harder to deal with. And I also think that's something we're going to see more often in the future. Gritor still did not know about these Void Rays. He did not see these targets, so he's kind of like in the dark. He obviously wants to figure out real soon what is happening. But right now we can already see him dropping the Spire. This is that also a popular transition right now. Open up with a bunch of Hydras. As long as you survive, you know that you have a better economy than Protoss right now because you've been on 3 bases way longer. You can potentially make a Muta switch, and those Muta switches are nasty, they're scary. And that's exactly what is going to happen this game. Crowley goes for a kind of unorthodox timing here with a couple of Void Rays. But Void Rays not very effective against the army that Gritor had. These Hydralisks, as you can see, do not take extra damage from these Void Rays. Links are awesome as well, certainly on creep. Even though it may seem that like, Links, I'm not sure how important that really is. It helps out a lot. It focuses the attention of the Stalkers and the Sentries as well to not only deal with those Hydras. And Gritor right now defenses pretty easily, puts himself in a really good position. Now this is something in the phases in the game where you immediately see Zerg going up to 4 bases. He still makes a couple of Hydras just in case that this pressure is going to continue. And you don't want to make Mutalisks just yet because yeah, they're not too amazing in small numbers in a straight up fight, but of course later on as well, if your economy really snowballs, they are going to be much better. Gritor knows that it's very unlikely that a Colossus is about to enter soon, so he's going pretty aggressive with these Links and Hydralisk. Crowley just trying to stabilize. He's okay, if I'm on 3 base, if I get more Void Rays out eventually, just now the Colossus are on the way, but that's obviously a little bit late. This is a really big mistake by Crowley, but I still really like that Gritor tries to do stuff like this. Just run by with Links, try to poke in. If you can't, no big deal. You lose a couple of Links. Who cares when you're on 4 bases? Minerals are definitely not the biggest problem. If you just get one run by, it is pretty damn massive already. Not only do you kill 10 probes, you pull the army out of position, you slow everything down from Protoss, and of course there is that economic damage of the mining time loss. So basically right now this style is just working out greatly for Gritor. Crowley is on this moment completely unaware of this potential Muta transition, and I really think that this is the phase where I make a lot of mistakes, and I think a lot of Protoss players as well. Like on a certain moment you just feel like, alright, I'm just gonna stabilize right now, I just want to get a really big army out, and you're not scouting enough. And it can be tough to scout, certainly against all those Hydras. It's really hard to sneak in observers when there are overseers / spores around, and yeah, you don't really want to send out a Void Ray, obviously. So Phoenixes would be a good idea, but he doesn't want to use his resources right now. What he should be doing, though, and I'm sure that a lot of people at home are saying this as well, just make hallucinated Phoenixes and just try to send those in. Because if you see these Mutas, when they're still over here, you can already be in position the first time. You're going to have to sacrifice this base, but that is definitely not the end of the world. What you could still do is get a bunch of Phoenixes out. And if you get those Phoenixes out in time, let's say you start producing Phoenixes 45 seconds quicker, the first moment you're going to have 4 to 6 Phoenixes. It's not going to be enough to deal with this, but hey, a couple of cannons, you make more and more Phoenixes, and eventually if you go up to 180 supply, your army is going to be a lot stronger. It is all about seeing this coming in time, and as easy as it sounds, there are so many things going on in that phase of the game that it is just really hard to be always on top of your scouting. And the moment that this happens, guys, a bunch of Mutas fly in. On this point of the game, you have absolutely 0 Phoenixes. It is almost game over. Love the multi-prong aggression from Gritor. It's going to take out a bunch of units over here. Obviously, the army is just running back and forth. The great gateway units, if they want to defend against the remaining Hydralisks / Zerglings that are on the map, these Mutas are going to fly in again. And games like this, like, okay, this was not a great opening for Crowley, but still, it was far from bad. He was on a steady 3-base economy. He was getting his Colossus out. If he would have sent hallucinated Phoenixes, if he would have seen that Spire wiggle a little bit, as Gritor was researching +1 as well, and +1 Mutas are so much more scary than just 0/0 Mutalisks. If he gets 2 to 4 Phoenixes more than he would have had now, eventually, this would have been more than fine. Of course, what Naniwa once said is that if I was a Mutalisk, I would like to meet a Void Ray. Well, guys, this is why these Void Rays obviously stand no chance against Mutalisk. Beautiful game by Gritor. Crowley played a pretty solid game. It all comes down to this one phase in the game where you really want to scout. You want to send out hallucinated Phoenixes. The reason why I chose this replay is just because I want to highlight how important that is. After a push like that fails, or after it kind of goes like, okay, Zerg is going to go up to 4 bases, they are going to have a bank. You want to see which units they make. You want to see, okay, is going to be swarm hosts out on the map? Are we going to see infestors real soon? And if you don't see anything, it basically already means, hey, wait, I'm going to have to probably prepare for a big Muta switch, because with the money that Zerg has, it's very likely they can get 16 to 80 Mutalisk out. And you can see what happens right now. Crowley is just losing everything here and there. These Mutalisks can just literally idle above the army. And if you don't have enough Phoenixes the first time, you are never going to have enough. Now, Crowley left this game within 20 seconds from this point on, and he wasn't too happy with how this game unfolded. But of course, I am not here to create drama or being sensational, so I'm not going to show this little chat log that happened between Croto and Greetorp. What I do want to show once more is that it is also important if the game kind of stabilizes and you're wondering like, hey, what is Zerg doing? Why am I not being under pressure? Why don't I see anything? You can kind of guess already that you're going to have to deal with Mutalisk. You want to send hallucinated phoenixes. Having sentries, having them sitting there with 200 energy is useless. It is still something that, I don't know, like hallucination is always this thing like, yeah, I had to research it always, so I never really used it. And now it's for free. You want to use it. If you don't see anything, it is so likely the Muta transition is coming. That was the first game. After this, I want to look at one more game from Greetorp where you can see that even if Proto sees it come in time, it is really not all that easy to still deal with it. It's going to be a really cool game between Grubby and Greetorp. Greetorp, of course, playing on NA ladder, so Grubby did play from Europe, had a little bit of latency, but still, I thought it was an awesome game, and obviously really impressive from Greetorp that he's able to go head-to-head with guys like Grubby. But we're going to do that after the commercial break, and after that, I'm going to show you guys a couple of community replays, which I think is really fun. Those are not going to be the same level of gameplay, so it's not going to come down to those minor things like sending a hallucinated Phoenix in time 30-40 seconds. No, these games are kind of like all over the place. There's a lot of stuff happen, a lot of things can go better, but I still want to like help a couple of guys out there, and obviously it is fun for me to see as well and what's going on in the lower league. So guys, stay tuned, small commercial break, we're right back with much more StarCraft II replay fun.